welcome to another episode of What Makes Us Human podcast.
Welcome.
Hey, Pia. We got a guest today. I'm so excited.
I'm excited.
And not only is it a guest, it's our first guest on the podcast. So,
Yes.
Latoya, you are first, honey. Okay.
Hey,
Welcome to the What
Thank
Makes Us
you.
Human podcast, Latoya,
Thank you.
aka Fat Running Chef, aka
Mhm.
Extraordinaire.
Yes.
We are so happy to have you here today, Toya, and we are going to start this conversation by asking you to, one, introduce yourself to our audience, and two, what makes you human, Latoya?
Wow, what makes me human? Well, hi everybody. My name is Latoya Shauntay Snell. I am the CEO and founder of a blog that turned into and evolved into a business, and actually evolved into a movement called Running Fat Chef. It started off as my food and fitness platform that I created when one, I have a culinary background, and I love anything that involves the kitchen table. So that means cooking, conversations, smiling, talking about the hard stuff. And so I created this platform after a couple of friends was just like, you write super long form and you talk just as long form. Can we get you to understand that Instagram is not a blogger platform? And I was like, well, actually, the creative in me completely disagrees with that. But since I heard you the first time, sure, I can go back to the blogger space. A lot of my humble beginnings was really in the open mic scene, doing slam poetry. And then after I had my son, and then marriage, of course, kind of kicked in. It took a little bit of a back seat, but I've found that writing and my passion for creating and storytelling didn't leave me, and that followed me into the fitness space, something that was not supposed to be a career. If it was left to me, I would be in the culinary space right now, cooking in somebody's kitchen, probably losing my mind. But I would love what I was doing, but somehow this beautiful marriage of fitness and food happened to come about, and it's given me the gift and the opportunity to create something that was larger than me. And that's the beauty of what storytelling does. Now, your question was, what makes us human? What makes us human? What makes me human is my ability to surrender to being vulnerable. I think particularly as Black people, and dare I challenge to say Black women, we're oftentimes not given permission to be vulnerable. We're giving an unofficial rule book of how we're supposed to perform, think, do, be, exist, thrive. And I believe that when I am that open and vulnerable and transparent with the world, nobody can take that away from me. Nobody can take away that superpower of that vulnerability. It's almost like when you watch a stand-up comedian go out on stage and they have this really beautiful ability to be able to tell stories, and most times they're telling from their own experience, and they have control at that moment to make the audience laugh and feel as they tell those stories. But if you listen hard enough, they're possibly telling stories of pain. They're possibly telling stories that sometimes people wouldn't sit down and give the time of day and the care to listen to. That's what I'm able to do as a storyteller. That's what I'm able to do as an advocate. And that's what I'm able to do with my platform. But in my everyday life, the ability to be vulnerable has allowed me the ability to shatter and debunk stereotypes about my own existence. And people who look like me, people who do not look like me. I didn't know that's what I was creating. I didn't know that's what I was doing. Really, I was just looking to emancipate myself. And in that ability to emancipate yourself, you are freeing others to be unapologetically themselves. So that's what makes us human. And that's what makes me human.
I love it.
Okay. This
I
is
love that.
yeah.
Wow. Something you said, and I wrote it down, how you love the kitchen table, right? And you brought me back to my childhood, and a lot of Black people, right, gathering around the kitchen table.
Yes.
talking and cooking. You know, I can remember my grandmother and my aunts, you know, cooking and everybody just sitting around the kitchen table and I'm sampling stuff and nibbling on stuff, right? That is the kitchen table has always been like our safe space for
Yes.
Black people, the place where we come, we talk about the day, we talk about other people, we gossip, we play spades, all of that. The kitchen
Ooh,
table.
see, you said spades now. Okay, so I'm gonna get just like a half a point deducted. I'm not the spades
Your
partner.
black card, we're going to pull your black card.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, right along with that and dancing.
I don't play or watch. I'm a spectator. I'm afraid to get involved
I'm going to have
because
to teach
those
y'all how to
games
play
get
spades. We're going to
heated.
have a spades tutorial after this because I refuse to have y'all go through the rest of 2024 not knowing how to play spades. I am a pro, a
Oh,
professional.
Listen,
no.
I'm trying.
I would listen. That's all right. I'm gonna restore their black card, y'all. No worries. No worries. It's gonna be
Yes.
restored. I will
Yes.
say this, Toya. There's so many things that you said that were profound in your
Yeah.
response, and I agree, Pia. But even outside of just our blackness and the kitchen table, I believe that music and food are a universal love
Mm,
language. That everybody finds power in sharing over a plate of love, and that is what makes us human, is sometimes that very basic sharing a meal and the love that it takes to pour into a meal. And I will tell you, I have been blessed to try Toya's food. We got history. Toya done made birthday cakes for me and stuff, so it's good, y'all. She can throw down.
listen, I gotta give you kudos for the reason why I have my business, like the first business. So, like, you do understand how the cake monologues came about, right? Yeah, oh my girl. See, listen. Okay, so like, but here's the thing. My passion for food has been here since from youth. And there is a blend of, because I think everybody has a little bit of trauma, before everybody started using that word very loosely.
Yes.
But everybody has something that shapes them, whether it's positive, negative, and neutral. And in my case, I did grow up in an abusive household. I grew up in a household where, don't get me wrong, it was a lot of nuance to it. Sometimes when we think about abuse, we think of these stories where it's super graphic. And don't get me wrong, this is not me kind of like chipping away or saying that what I went through was not heavy. It was definitely heavy. My dad suffered from drug abuse, and I would like to use that term because I think that sometimes, especially with Black men, we don't give them permission to actually have these broken moments.
Yes.
And my dad was the best cheerleader when it came down to certain parts of his life. You could tell him certain things, and he would just shape it and phrase it the only way that old school Black people can do. Very colorful, a very very colorful Kevin Hart dad like phrasing, and it was very strong worded to tell you to go out there and do what you want to do and stop looking for permission from everybody else. But sometimes our heroes can they're hurt, and their layer of not being able to be vulnerable or having a way to be vulnerable to say this is how I'm feeling translates into different ways. And with my dad, it was drug addiction. So this is the 80s, 80s. I'm an 80s baby. Everybody was addicted to crack cocaine. My dad was not an exception, and I can see in hindsight of how that played out. Where when moments that he was high, I was like, it was like talking to a different person. But also the moments when he was not high, it was like I saw the humanity, and then I saw the darkness. And that darkness was heavy, where it was like, okay, he's having a moment where he's losing patience. And instead of him elaborating and saying or using his words, which he was really great at those moments, that aggravation or that irritation of they're not listening to me would translate into him putting his hands on us. I have a little sister. I and from my perspective, I think I took a lot of the grunt and the brunt of it because my dad and I had a very similar personality, very strong. You're going to hear us when we're in a room. We're not asking for permission to be in a room, but what comes with that is when you have two personalities like that, sometimes they can't hear each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would have this habit of learning from him and then throwing back what he said to me in his face of, you said that nobody should put their hands on you, and that includes men and women. So why are you doing it? And anytime I pulled his coattail, we literally evolved from a spanking to a belt to a belt buckle to straight up like blow for blow by the time I was 10. The kitchen table metaphorically was my Switzerland. Um, it was really my Switzerland. It was literally my safe space that regardless of what happened throughout the day, there was something about the kitchen environment that calmed him down and in turn calmed me down. And that's when I was able to see the most beautiful parts and layers of his humanity. Um, the way that he cooked for people and taught me how to cook was the most beautiful love language that he left me with. And he told me that it's hard for people to hate you up close, and it's also hard for people to dislike you after making a good meal. So in my head, I was just like, if I can make people smile, make people feel a certain way without words, without talking heavy to them and talking at them, but I can get them to be in conversation with me, then when I don't have words, I have this meal. That's what the kitchen table, represents for me, but that evolved into like, me coming over here to Bed-Stuy, um, and meeting you, fast forward, when I was pregnant, holding on to the bean who is now gonna be 17 years old. Which is
Jesus,
crazy to even think about.
it's crazy.
Um, when I was pregnant, this child would not let me eat junk food for the life of me. And I was just like, a girl just want a cake. A girl just want a cake. That's all I want. Third trimester came around. I'm bedridden because I had placenta previa. Basically there's like it's basically like you go through your entire pregnancy, but you're high risk. And at the end of that pregnancy, there's a possibility that there's no opening for the baby to come out. So it can be a possible C-section. There are some people who are marginal. They consider it marginal placenta previa. I'm going to say to everybody, just Google it. It's a lot. But I also had placenta accreta, which basically means that you can bleed out. So I was exceptionally high risk. My child is also a rainbow baby. For anyone who don't know, that means that you've gone through a miscarriage or a pregnancy loss. Um, while carrying him, the thing that kept me grounded was experimenting with making cakes. And here comes you, neighbor. I was like, hey girl, can you try out this cake?
Like, gladly.
And she tried out these cakes, and I kid you not, it was something that you said that gave me the name. And I just I was literally using you and a couple of other people as a muse to test out and figure out these recipes. Like I remember naming one cake after you, and it was the
Yes, it was that
tiramisu.
Bailey's chocolate cake, girl. I
Yes.
still dream about it. It was so good.
So you are, it's crazy to go full circle. Is that essentially
Wow,
you were one of
that's a throwback.
the founders of my business. Of like, if I didn't have that village and I wasn't vulnerable enough to say, and that's a hard thing for me to do, and I'm still working on it as an adult. If I didn't trust you enough, which trust was a big thing, especially growing up in an abusive household where verbally, physically, you're being abused. And you don't feel safe. You don't feel like I didn't even feel safe with my own words when it came to even being around friends because I was the awkward black girl. Like now these kids are being celebrated for being awkward. Like the stranger the better. And like our generation, not so much. It was like, hey, hold up, you listen to death metal? You do who and what? Wait, hold up. You into the books and you're
Right,
not
like
gonna get
anime.
down?
Anime was not cool. It was
Oh,
not
no.
popping
Not at
in the
all.
90s.
Not at all.
It was
But
not
yes,
in the 90s, folks.
yeah. So like no, like seriously, like so I have to say, like, and give you your flowers in real time. Thank you
Thank
for believing
you.
in me enough to remind to essentially lay down the foundation of how I actually saw my entrepreneurial spirit. I didn't think it actually existed in me.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for the
Yes.
flat. And that's over 10 years ago because I think you made
Yes.
that on my like 23rd birthday or something. So
Mm-hmm.
that is
Yes.
amazing. And I applaud you. I have watched you blossom into this powerhouse of just raw realness. Like, y'all, first of all, everybody right now, stop what you're doing and go follow Latoya on every platform, because you will not only be informed, but you will be entertained. Okay? Because Latoya be reading people for filth, okay? Got me to say this.
Yes.
You are a master at your message, and you have developed this just authentic voice of who you are. Like, you know who you are. Like, we are all women of a certain age. That's what the folks say. We are all women of a certain age.
That's what they tell us. That's what they tell us, right?
That's what they tell us, right? And although we never stop growing, there is a point in life where we become assured of who we are and what we are. And we just rest in that knowing. And Latoya just rests in her knowing. So it is nothing you can say to her that baby is not going to have a snap, come drag you, snatch your edges, your wig, your mama edges, your ancestors' edges.
That's the wig.
Listen,
And I love it.
Ain't got no way. We gonna find them edges, okay?
Real. Let's talk about it. The world that we live in, this very open, this world of influencers, and I consider Latoya an influencer. I don't know if you consider yourself that, but I consider you an influencer. In this world and in this age of social media and how much we consume other people's experiences, there are a lot of people who are nasty, hateful, ugly. Because of their own hurt, their own inability to be vulnerable, their own inability to see themselves. And so they want to tear somebody else down. Like, and I've experienced it, and I don't necessarily consider myself an influencer, but I've experienced the ugly.
I'm gonna correct you right then and there, sis. Everybody's an influencer. That's the part that people don't get, is that every single last one of us are an influencer. Now, you may not call yourself that by profession, but if your work, if anything that you are doing is pouring into anyone, you are an influencer. If you are influencing your child, if you are, even when it comes down to our parents, we become, what is it? I think the term is parental. What was it? We become
raising our parents.
Raising our parents. Like, I mean, because it is full circle, you know, that when we come into this world, and we come in, you know, we're babies, and then we grow and blossom and become adults. And, you know, one of these days, hopefully my child won't be changing my diaper. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be looking at me sideways. He already does look at me sideways as a teenager. And there's times where I let my child politely snatch my edges to remind me of, Mom, that's not inclusive. Mom, that's not how you do this. Because that's the love language that I have for him. And that's my contribution, because I realized what my dad did. He did the best that he had, you know, with the tools that he had. Just like my mother. Like, I will never forget my mom. My mom's an intricate part of my life. My mom is very calm. And my dad was like, you know, I'm gonna say things the way I'm gonna say it. You know, my mom on the other hand is just like, I'm gonna think about it and I'm gonna calculate when this comes out. And what I've learned from the way that they did their best is that I need to give my son permission to be able to speak freely, and without consequence. So there are moments where people are like, "Oh, you're a hippie mom," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. You know, X-Files. I'm still old school. I ain't one of your little friends." But at the same token,
that part,
right? Like, because I think a lot of these parents forget that. I'm like, I'm not one of your little friends, but at the same token, if we want our children who are blossoming into beautiful adults at some point, if we want them to feel safe enough to be able to advocate for themselves, then that starts at home. We have to give them a safe space to be able to speak freely, where there are times where I'm just like, say whatever way it comes out. And he's just like, Mom, I'm not with this shit. And I don't flinch one bit if the profanity flies out, because I don't think that when it comes down to your rage, nobody says, hey, you know, well, don't say it like that. Like, sometimes we need permission to have a safe space to just get it all out there. If he can't do that in his home, then how is he going to be able to do that in his workplace? How is he going to be able to advocate for himself in a medical office? How is he going to be able to advocate for himself in a relationship? And he needs to have that safe space. And I think everybody deserves that. So yeah, like, you know, for me, I think that everybody's an influencer to some degree. When we think about influencers these days, we think about social media. You know, this is one of the hats that I wear. When the first time I got called an influencer, I cringed. I was like, ugh. because it just has like this musty like smell to it. Like it's just like they coming in the room like, okay, what are you selling? It's like the person the Cutco people that used to sell the knives. I ain't gonna knock them because I tried it.
One day, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this shit.
I ain't doing it too much, like I'm crazy enough.
In like Westchester, I'm knocking on mansion doors. I'm like,
Oh my god,
they're gonna kill me out here trying to see
hey,
me.
supposed to be out here in these streets, but it's just
No.
like the thing is, when it comes down to influencing, we all have that superpower because when we think about it, you can see a commercial is influencing you, but it's like it's a business. But when you talk to your friend who's like, "Girl, I picked this thing up last week," and it's like, "Oh, tell me a little bit more about this thing." "Oh, well, this is what it did, and this is why I got it, and you should get it too." They're influencing you. So when it comes down to, like when it comes down to people like me, I just happen to have a large platform of people who, listen to my words, and I have to be deliberate. Now that I know I have a larger responsibility because of the platform that I have, which is a lot of weight and it's heavier than people know. Sometimes I look at it as a burden where I'm just like, if I don't watch my words, someone out there is listening, even if they interact with me or they're like, they're just like, I'm not going to hit the follow button, but I like what she's putting out. But I have trust issues in saying I'm going to follow this influencer. If I put out the wrong commentary to someone, while I don't have control over what someone else is going to do, nor am I responsible for their actions, I understand the power of my influence. And when you have that understanding, you have to be deliberate and showing up in the world. So when I snatch people edges and I'm reading people for filth, it's not the toxic way that our friend Monique is doing. But I ain't gonna baby you to death.
Yeah.
Sweet baby.
Baby, honey.
I'm damn sure not about to call my husband daddy unless we in the right atmosphere. Okay.
I mean, it's your business.
That's your business. Okay? That's Captain Brown would say that's your business. So,
Yeah.
like, for me, it's just more like when I snatch people edges, I don't treat I don't treat everybody the same. I don't treat them underneath the same lens. There are some people who they come off the bat and they come off the cuff saying some crazy stuff, but it's not like a nanny nanny boo boo, I hate you because you're fat. It's more like, I don't like you because I read this article about you and you just seem like, like I'm like you don't care about us. Maybe it's a misunderstanding of words. Maybe my success triggers the hell out of you because I am a walking contradiction of everything that you were grown up to believe. And I am the person that will gently snatch your edges and say, can you explain? Show your work. I'm in my show your work era. Show me the work of why you hate me. I'm like, because if you can logically explain to me why you hate me, it's not my job to even make you feel different. I just want to understand. Help me help you help us. Let's make sense of this hate. Because most times when we're yelling at people, anger is like a lost voice for people who are sad, depressed, or feeling a different type of way. So
Yes.
if you feel this strongly about what I do, how I say it, how I position it out to the world, baby, I'm going to ask you every time to show your work. Tell me why you hate me. Tell me, do you hate me or do you hate the actions? Do you hate me or the success? Do you hate me because I really am doing something wrong and maybe I need my edges snatched because I'm not above that? But make it make sense. You can't
Ooh,
just
I
go
love
out
that. I think
there.
that's a brilliant response to the haters. Show me
Yeah,
your work. Hate me.
like, explain to me why you hate me. Like, show your work. Like, I mean, you can't just go over here and just, you're gonna hate bomb me with messages of, I hate you and sis, you need to lose some weight and you fat and this and this. Okay, baby, but my business name, literally a trademark, is Running Fat Chef. Baby, I know I'm fat. I'm fat, and the thing about fat is seasoning. Okay, it's seasoning in the soul to a dish. Okay, I have flavor. When you see me, you're gonna respect my gangster because without fat, you don't even have life. So what you're not going to do is try to come for me about my body weight. What you're not going to do is come for me about my dishes that I know taste delicious. What you're not going to do is come to me about how I present and I take up space in this world. And yes, it requires some body fat or it takes up some actual fat to actually fill up a space. So if you have a problem with that, that sounds personal. However, let's figure out this problem, this mutual problem of my existence impending on your life. Because up until about 2, 3 minutes ago, I didn't know you existed. but you decided to come here. So clearly there's something that, even if you dislike me, you needed my attention. You needed my validation. There's a reason why you found a home with your words here. So while you are here, take off your shoes, put them shits at the door, grab yourself a bottle of water, let's sit down on the sofa, and while you are here as my guest, can you explain to me why you hate me? Why you dislike what I do? And when you can make sense of that, then we can really talk.
I want to pose a question to both of y'all. Because I noticed I'm a woman of a certain size, and I've moved through sizes, and I've transformed in my life around a certain size, but I always identify as fat. I'm a fat girl through and through. In my heart, I'm a fat girl. Even if I'm down to whatever size you think is appropriate, I'm still a fat girl in my heart. And I've noticed that people really have this belief that fat folks aren't supposed to love themselves. Like, how dare you have some confidence? How dare you actually like yourself? How could you possibly have a healthy opinion of yourself being fat? People have always praised me for my confidence. Oh my God, you're so confident. Oh my God, you're so. And I'm like, am I not supposed to be?
Supposed to be, right?
Am I not? Am I not? You should like you. I had an experience. I'll share this experience, and I want you to respond as to like why y'all think what is it about? I posted a video of me at my largest size. I've been almost 400 pounds in my life, and then I posted the transformation photo. So it was like a before and after, and I was like, "Yo, the shine was always there. The glow up was. I was always glowing. I loved me then, and I love me now." And like I had a hate comment on it, like, "Oh no, you were sick and dying. You were miserable. Don't lie to the people. That's why you went and got surgery." And I was like, first of all, you don't even know me. I got surgery because I was a dying diabetic, and I didn't want to die. Like, I didn't give a shit what I looked like in my clothes. I thought I was fine then. You ain't see me?
That outfits would tell a girl.
And it's really this sentiment that because we are in a larger body, because we weigh a certain amount, how could you love yourself? And I know that's more of a reflection of the person saying the hatefulness than it is of me. But it honestly, society kind of pushes that narrative that you shouldn't feel worthy because you're fat. And I'm just like, how do we wrap our minds around that? And I see you use your platform, Latoya, all the time to combat that ugly, hateful rhetoric that fat people you just can't love yourself. You just can't have confidence because you're fat. How does that impact who you are and showing up in the world and being authentic? Because you are extremely authentic, knowing that some people just want you to hate yourself simply because of the body that you walk in.
There's money in it, and people hating themselves from a business standpoint. You know, if we invest in people's insecurities, and you'll always buy something to fix it. You know, so when I think about it from that standpoint, that there's so much money, there's a market for you to hate yourself. You know, I always ask people in workshops, because like, I mean, one of my hats is being a motivational speaker. The other part of it is being a writer, just loving, breathing storytelling, and of course being a creative. And my business model is how can I actually get you to figure out the root of the first time that someone's actually told you or taught you to hate yourself. And most times a lot of us can't remember the first time someone's like, when you phrase out the question, who taught you to hate you? You know, or what's the first time that you actually felt little, that you felt less than? And most times we're not hearing it. Like, don't get me wrong, you have the marketing that's out there passively. They're not saying on the commercial, have you ever thought about hating yourself? You know, call this hotline, you know, so we can help you hate yourself more. Like, it's not coming out as ominous like that. No, it's coming out in the ways of looking at your mother and saying, honey, I would never wear that shade of yellow because Black girls like us don't wear that. Who taught you how to hate yourself? Sometimes the people you love taught you how to hate yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So like, who taught you how to hate yourself? It's a business. It is a business. You have the marketing that's out there, the piss poor marketing that's out there. Because honestly, loving yourself is a business model too. Showing up as yourself, it can be a business model. But the thing is that when we're playing, we're historically, especially here in America, it is a business to get people to hate themselves. And it's a business to always feel like somebody's out to get you. It is a business motto for people to uphold these white supremacist talking points. Because I know in today's episode of Everything's Racist, really everything is racist. Like the things that when it comes down to fatness, when we think about, let's talk about the continent Africa, and I have to be deliberate in saying the continent. It's a whole ass continent, y'all. It's a continent. It's not a state.
50 plus
Okay.
countries, people.
Yes.
Like it's a place. It's a place I want to go. But there's sections I want to go to. Anyway, before I get hung on this tangent, because my ADHD will get me there. You know,
Yes.
that's like right there. But like when it comes down to the reasons why a lot of us hate ourselves, I think that everybody is suffering from it. It's not even just a fat person, burden. It is a
Yeah.
burden of everybody. When people tell me or think that, because what they'll say to me in a phrase, and I've actually turned this into a whole ass sweatshirt, you're promoting obesity. And I was just like, I like the jingle of that. Yeah, I am promoting obesity, honey. Yeah, I'm promoting me to show up in this world just as I am. When you think about the motherland, we were celebrated for being plus size. When you had meat on your
Yes.
bones, so you're basically telling me inherently, I don't supposed to even have cultural pride. These are one of the things and the ways that we actually celebrate ourselves. When it came down to tattoos, we did that. When it came down to piercings, we did that. And all of those things, white supremacy had you out here thinking you're not even supposed to show up and be you. You're not supposed to even celebrate you. That was the point, is to strip you down so you can believe that everything that you're now taught, the remix, is what you want. And then you're like, I'm getting this Dollar Tree version of myself when I had it all. Like, so like it's to a place where it's an investment for people to hate themselves, even the people who are not fat. So I'm just like, you're not even benefiting from this. Do you understand that every time that you hyperfixate on your body, you're not allowing space for you to grow in other areas? So like for me, when somebody is saying, oh, you're promoting people to be unhealthy, let me remind you that I am a chronically ill baddie. I have 10 medical conditions that have nothing to do with my weight. The people that I advocate for, it doesn't stop. Like I even stop associated myself with body positivity just because I feel like a lot of white women co-opted it in this movement, where at one point people like me was celebrated, but then there's like that fine print that's there when I walk in the room of, we only allow one. So okay, she's checked off. She's black. She's fat. She's queer. She's chronically ill, and she sounds a little bit like Cardi B. Let her in. Let her in. Nobody else. Nobody else.
The table.
That's it. That's the quota.
That's it. We got
Yes.
one dark in the room. That's all we
Right.
need.
And
Thank you.
that's it. And anything darker than her, nope, cannot pass. And like, so I
Right.
know that there's layers of colorism that's involved in this.
Yeah,
Much
there's
more complex
gatekeeping.
than just, fatness. Because the thing is, the way that I can look at someone who's white and fat, and they're a fat man, they're not going to be talked to the way that I'm talked to. But when you are fat, and that is that prefix and that suffix that matters. It's a matter of what else comes with your fatness, because we don't talk to fat white men that way. We don't tell them no. We just tell them that they have dad bods, and it's okay, as long as you got some money. But
Yes.
we don't tell this to fat black men. Yeah, you black. However, you a thickum. Like if we put you in a shed,
Yes.
like we
Yes.
gonna call him a teddy bear. We want Teddy to pick us up. We feel protected. That's the position that we put in. But when we talk about women or we talk about non-binary people, now it's more nuanced to it. So
Yeah.
it's like it's determining your worth, and they're trying to strip you of your worth. Because how dare you show up with light? How dare you show up in here with oxygen that I didn't give you? I give you permission to feel that way. It doesn't belong to you. So that joy is radical. So when they see someone like us walk into the room and we're just like, I'm the shit regardless. You didn't give this to me. I'm not asking for permission. You're not even responsible for even the hate that I give myself. It's it's intimidating. And that's the reason why when you think about fat black or fat brown person or fat indigenous person. It's just like historically you had everything to work against you and you found a way to remix it and you still have
Right.
joy.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be oppressed. You're supposed to be at the
Yeah.
bottom of this totem pole. How dare you
You're supposed to be
defy
dead.
every
Some of them want us dead. Some of them don't even want us breathing.
Oh please! The hate mail that I've seen people who are like who will say things and they're thrown off because my remix to it is like I'll get messages at least 4 times a month. I get messages of if you keep eating that way, and I'm like, when did you see me eat a ho ho or Twinkie on my Instagram story? But whatever, the imaginary food that you think I'm putting in my mouth, you go ahead and you got that, sis. You got that, bro. Chad, you definitely. I definitely put
It's
more than
always a damn Chad.
it's always a damn Chad. It's always a damn Karen. And the thing is, sometimes Karens look like us too, because we are not above perpetuating these white supremacist talking
Yes,
points
these
because we
biases.
want to belong, because people do not want to feel. We always uplift the idea of, oh, I love the radical. I love the person who dares to be themselves. But it is real hard to stand in that number one alone. That one number one space is fucking lonely, which is
Yeah.
the reason why I'm just like, it's a burden to be inspiring. But when it comes down to the fatness, and they say that, especially when it's synonymous with unhealthy, there are a lot of skinny, unhealthy people out there,
Oh,
and
yes.
I think that is a burden to them because now it doesn't afford them space to even advocate for themselves and say, hey, and they're like, how did you lose all that weight? Oh, cancer. Which Oh, well, what happened? Why didn't you get the proper treatment? Well, my doctor doesn't think that I'm sick. Look at me. I think it's a burden for you too. So when we judge people off of a look, it oppresses us all. It is not just something that oppresses fat people. It oppresses us all. But who gets the grunt and the horrible part of it? We do. When we show up in the room and we're plus size, we're supposed to be E for everyone hate. Everybody hates this person. Oh my God, she's taking up too much space. We don't say it that way. Oh my God, look how she moves. When I tell people in exercises, can you close your eyes? And when I say the word fat, and I want you to associate it with a person, how do you describe them? What are they wearing? How do they look? What are they doing? And it's usually some stereotype of they're sitting down on the sofa, they're watching TV. They're depressed. They're possibly black. They are possibly then the other negatives kicks in. Oh, they clearly don't have no job because clearly fat people don't work, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
They're lazy. I've heard lazy.
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 Yeah.
They're
No,
dirty.
they're
They
dirty.
stink. They don't have any romance. Nobody wants them.
Right.
I say all the time, honey, you watch 600-Pound Life. They all got a spouse.
Well, hello.
Dude.
I love Big Deborah. Okay, so
Yes.
I'm like, let's not fake the funk here, but the thing is those stories are not told. So that's the reason why
Exactly.
storytelling is so powerful to me. So when someone sees someone like me, who is the epitome of what you're supposed to hate, I am the woman who literally I lost the weight and I became a gym class dropout. I literally dropped out of high school for 7 gym credits. Ironically, dropped out of high school. It's a much longer story to that, but I dropped out of high school for 7 gym credits. I was the girl who was 98 pounds, soaking wet, and everybody would have thought I was the healthiest thing out there. I was in pain since I was 10 years old, and it took until someone soared beyond my body size when I actually did gain weight, when it was just like having that many miscarriages ain't normal. Um, can we check you a little bit further? And it took for someone to believe me, the power of one person believing me and saying, I will go just it wasn't anything triumphant. It was the most mediocre thing. I'm going to do my job.
Yes.
I'm going to do my job
That right there. Yeah.
and actually check you for me to get diagnosed with stage 4 rectovaginal endometriosis. It took for someone to do the most mediocre thing in their job description to check me even further to figure out I had 21 fibroids. It took for someone else to say, oh, now that we're down this rabbit hole, let's see what else is there. And they decided to take a different step and get another specialist to say, oh, so maybe these pains aren't imaginary, even though she's been walking around here with it at that point for 20 years.
Wow.
So when we judge people off of the way that they look, I feel like it's a disservice to all of us. because when you treat that person, one, you can always be that fat person. That's for one. Like the body image, that's gonna evolve over the years. Whether if we're not poking fun at somebody for being plus size or being too skinny or whatever it is, we might be poking people and poking fun at somebody that the thing that we're gonna become older. If we're blessed enough, we're gonna get older. Ageism is a thing. Getting sick is a thing. Telling people that, oh, you're sick because you brought it upon yourself. My son is going to be 17. He's had his type 1 diagnosis, one diagnosis since he was 7 going into 8. There was nothing that he did wrong. That was just, there was the DNA. It was just something in the DNA that's like, hey, and they're still trying to figure out the source of this. Are you telling autoimmune people who lose weight that they're doing it right? Are you telling people who have cancer that they're doing it right? Like, so what stereotype, what do you benefit off of it? It is not helping anyone, but sometimes some people need to hate the success. They need to hate people who they deem are doing better than them because their everyday lives are so mediocre because they didn't have the courage to try. They didn't have the courage to fail. Failure is part of the process. I had to fail countless times. And when I realized that that was part of the success, I leaned into it. But my fat is not a failure. My fat is not a condition. It is just I have.
My fat is not a failure. That's a little t-shirt.
Listen, I love my F words now. I love my F words, but it's just like, but the way the society has grown doesn't. I mean, like I said, it's like you can look into it. Diet culture is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
We like, don't get me wrong, there may be something that's justified where some people may have to lose certain body weight, but even if they chose to be quote unquote unhealthy, it is their prerogative. And I know that that probably is an unpopular opinion. You don't dictate how someone shows up in the world or even how they treat themselves. Why does it bother you so much? Why are we so invested in people's lives so much that we have to be hypercritical? Because, honey, are you doing any of that work? Or are you doing a fourth of that work on yourself? Because I promise you, you wouldn't be where you at if you did.
You wouldn't be so hateful if you were. Yeah.
You wouldn't have time. But busy people ain't got time.
See, somebody just be sitting there with hateful comments under the post. You ain't got nothing better to do.
Yeah. That even when I'm trolling back, that is business for me. Because what's going to happen is my key layers in my business is to educate, to entertain, and to inspire. So if I look at your comment and I'm just like, you just said nanny nanny boo boo, you suck, I'm probably going to block it. But if you said something like, I hate you because you were able to gain entry into a spot that I wasn't supposed to be in. One of the instances or examples in the running space, the Boston Marathon is a huge thing. One of the things that I got heckled for and harassed for 4 months straight, you took someone else's spot. There were folks out there who were fragile in this running community that were pissed that I had an entry into the Boston Marathon because this is like our version of the Olympics.
You earned that spot.
Right, you earn that spot. You get in by speed. So when they see someone like me, who literally is team slow as fuck, I am last finisher, and I'm getting the opportunity to go into the Boston Marathon. They kept saying you took someone else's spot, and I had to remind them one that has to wear is as an influencer. So from a marketing standpoint, whatever reason that this business decided to allow me entry in this, I'm here, but I have the power of storytelling. Of one, I get to showcase that athletes look, sound, and are presented different ways. So I get to use this as an opportunity, even from a business standpoint. I get to show people that we belong here too, that we can take up space. So it's much more than just me collecting a paycheck to show up at a spot. It is more like, what can I do with this? Because you got people who are employees, and then you have leadership. And leadership don't go into leadership roles thinking I'm going to do things as a person who's just trying to be here for the 9 to 5. I'm just here to collect my check. I'm not here to collect checks. I'm here to check people. So when I go into these environments, I look at it as this race affords me an opportunity to put out a stronger message that will live and thrive longer than my breath will be here on this planet. I want to be able to put something down that someone else will be able to pick up and say, I can do something better with that. She's put down this foundation. I can pick this up and say, you know what? this is the opportunity that wasn't afforded to her back then, but this is an opportunity that exists now because somebody else did it. I'm benefiting off of someone deciding that 50 years ago, Title IX existed. Title IX didn't exist until 50 years ago. They told us that we could not run as women because our uterus was going to fall out. Okay? All right? That's 50 years ago. It wasn't a long, long time ago. Just like when people say that slavery was a long, long time ago, I'm like, you possibly have a great, great grandmother who can tell you about an account that somebody else has told them. It's not a long, long time ago. So
My grandmother's grandmother was set free when she was 8 years old.
Right.
Exactly.
See?
Exactly.
Right.
So it wasn't that long ago. My
Great
grandmother's grandmother
right.
was a slave and
Right.
set free at the age of 8.
Think
Wow.
about that. So when I hear things like this, I'm just like, what an elitist commentary from non-elite people. Like,
Trapping all these because I need to write down. I'm not here for the check. I'm here to check people. Look at all these elite comments from unelite. I need to write all of that.
people. Like, it's like the fragility, the audacity of fragility to take up space.
Yeah.
So if these audacious fragile people can take up space, then baby, I can too, especially when I have a purpose.
I know that's right.
So like, it's just too much. I think that people are so invested in the detriment of others, not realizing they playing themselves. So even when I play out people on these platforms and in these streets, I'm always asking myself before I respond back, am I educating someone? So possibly my audience. This is how you this is how you assert your boundaries. And you can possibly do it with humor. Or I can actually choose to take another page of, this is how you make me feel. Or this is what you were attempting to make me feel. This is how I actually feel about myself because I got to a place where I built myself up to have this delusional self-belief in myself that nobody can take this away from me. However, maybe you caught me on the wrong day. Maybe, and even though I didn't,
okay,
right,
period.
you caught me on the wrong day, and now you're gonna catch these words because that's how I flow. Or it might be a day where, you know what, I might actually be vulnerable enough to say, you got me. Not because I believe it, but because today I was receptive of that hate. And now I get to teach my platform of, we don't have to hide behind having a snarky comment. We don't have to hide behind sitting here trying to curse them out and saying, fuck you. Maybe we can actually admit and say, this is hurtful because I hear this on a regular basis and I would appreciate it. And this is the strongest thing I can do for today is to advocate for myself. Today, I would appreciate it if you step the hell out of my face and with that commentary. And when people say that it's childish or you're not being open to hit the block button if that is the way that's your love language. Hit the block button. You don't have to go back and forth with people in the comments. I put timers on myself. That was something I learned in 2019 when I took up this space, took up this opportunity to have a larger platform than what it is now. And I used to go back and forth with trolls for 8 hours. And I'm like, look at all that time I missed. Look at all
that wasted energy. Yeah.
And I'm probably over here combating a bot. So it's just like
India, child.
right. Like they don't give a damn about me right now. It's just 011011111 sequences arguing with me on the screen, and I look like Booba the Fool. So if it's not to educate, if it's not to empower, and it's not to inspire, and it's not to entertain, then why am I doing this? So anything that I do, if it is not hitting those pillars, then I don't belong there.
Oh wow, that is so true. I mean, and I think that's a good segue into a wrap up because that's
because honey, we can keep going, honey. We're gonna have you here all day, but this triathlete, this multi-faceted individual is busy. So tell us where and how people can join the movement, not just follow you, but really get on the bandwagon with this powerful movement of beautiful vulnerability and realness. How can they be a part of your world and your movement?
Absolutely. So you can find me on runningfatchef.com, runningfatchef.com. Don't y'all dare whisper it. No, it's not a typo. runningfatchef.com. You can find me there on my website. I'm actually in the middle of a rebrand. So this is going to be, don't get me wrong, the stories that was there, I'm not trying to get rid of them, but you're going to see a little bit of a remix on that platform where it's going to be more about the community. not just an individual effort. At some point, you have to pass the torch when you start to find that success. So you can give permission to somebody else to be able to do so. On social media, you can find me as I am L Shauntay. That's IAMLSHAUNTAY. I am L Shauntay. And you can also find me on social media as Running Fat Chef. We have a Facebook page. I have an Instagram page of Running Fat Chef where I just straight up talk about food because even my haters follow me there. Because but who can hate somebody that can make a bomb ass dish? So like who gonna check me, boo?
Those recipes, I'm not a cook, but I said I'm going to try some of those recipes.
Listen, I'm telling you, like,
you need to have us. Oh, I know where to find you, so I'm coming over for a meal. And I'll just drag you along. We're gonna come over and we're gonna continue this conversation.
Yes.
Latoya, you are a joy, you are a light, and you are a force in this world.
Thank
you embody what makes us human. And so we are so privileged and honored to have you here in this space today.
Yes.
Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time.
It's been
allowing me to bust in on y'all podcasts and stuff.
Listen, come on. You want to come on back.
No, I'm gonna bring my Tupperware too. Listen.
Bring that cake back. Run that cake back. And then you know what? We need to do an episode where I'm teaching y'all how to play spades. Okay, the people gonna laugh at me.
Listen, community sharing.
Spades thing again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, we thank you, Latoya. As always, Pia, tell them how they can follow us and join us on what we're doing, and then we're gonna get up out of here.
Well, they can find us on Instagram at Transformation Counseling SVC. And they can find us on our website, transformationcounselingservices.com. We give free consultations. Anybody who's looking for counseling services, for any kind of mental health services, couples, individuals, they can find us there. Life coaching, we're right there. Free consultation.
All right, y'all. Until next time, stay blessed. Be a blessing.
Yes.
See y'all again.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.